Hi everyone, PsychoSorcerer here, and today I wanted to talk about what I believe when it comes to magic and the occult. Before I do that, I'd like to talk a little bit about what a belief is. And that might shed some light on why I didn't share this belief in my earlier video, The Science Behind Magic and the Occult. It's important to understand that there's a difference between knowing something and believing something. When you know something, you can prove it, either by observation or by backing it up with fact. On occasion, you can know something by experience as opposed to something that you can prove. For example, you can know that something happened to you even if there's no record of it. But outside of that, the only way to really know something is to be able to prove it in some way, shape, or form. A belief, on the other hand, is something that you use as a placeholder for knowledge. When you're not 100% sure about something, you often create a belief about how you think something works or how you think something will happen. For example, I believe that I'm going to have a good day today. I'll find out by the end of the day whether that was true, and I'll know by tomorrow whether today had been a good day. Perhaps a better example is to look at the theoretical sciences. If we were to only focus on what we know and to shun anything that we believe, we'd have no new discoveries. In order for a theoretical physicist or anyone of that nature to make any new discoveries, they have to have beliefs about what they're observing in the world that they then try to prove or disprove, or that they try to find a way to explain using things that have already been proven. Now in science, these are called theories, and the difference between a theory and a standard belief is just that a theory has a lot of backing as far as elements of it have been proven or are based on things that have been proven. So they have a stronger likelihood of turning out to be true. However, they're still beliefs. So if we were to actually stop paying attention to things that we believe and only pay attention to things that we know, we would become stagnant, we wouldn't grow. At the same time, however, you can never place a belief above knowing. If you believe something is true, but then you know something that would prove that that's false, then you have to change your belief. And it's when we don't follow that we get into trouble. The most obvious example of this happening is faith in God. Faith in God is just a belief. You believe that there is a God or higher power that has some kind of an influence over this world or perhaps created it. And that's completely well and good. There's no way to prove or disprove that. It's a belief. And as of yet, we don't have any reason to say that that is or isn't correct. The place where people get into an argument is over what that God's rules are and how that God went about it and things of that nature. Things that we couldn't possibly know, and so these also fall into the realm of beliefs. Now, when you start to find that some of these things that you believe in aren't true, they don't match what you know, you have to change that belief. That doesn't mean that you have to get rid of the belief in God in general, but it means you have to change what rules you believe God follows, and that's perfectly fine. In fact, this is the same process that's used in scientific theory. If you prove that a scientific theory is incorrect, then that theory is no longer valid. However, elements of that theory may still be true, so you oftentimes go back, edit the theory, and try again until you find something that works. Eventually, if you can prove a theory, then it becomes knowledge as opposed to belief. The problem comes when someone refuses to change a belief based on knowledge. If you are presented with something that's factually accurate and create a web of explanation as to how that could actually not be true just so that you can back up a belief, well, then you're getting into a dangerous area. This usually happens if someone feels threatened by the idea that their belief has to change. And that's because a lot of people think that you have to change the belief in its entirety, that you can't just change elements of the belief to adopt the new information. Now, if we were truly using beliefs correctly, where we put knowledge first and belief second, this wouldn't be an issue at all. You'd say, oh, I need to change this element that I didn't know, that's fine. But the fact that we sometimes place our beliefs above knowledge is what causes this problem. In the interest of not causing that kind of confusion, I wanted to separate out what I was presenting to you guys in the previous videos. For example, when we talk about knowledge, I know that when I've used the practices that we've discussed throughout this lecture series, that I get results, and I know that those results have been good. I don't know why the results happen. I don't know why these practices work. But I have beliefs as to why these practices work, and in fact, I would consider some of these beliefs to be on the level of a theory. When I compare the times that the practices have worked to the times that the practices don't work, they seem to work given certain scenarios, and that's built what I believe. Comparing the results of trying things one way and trying things another way creates what I think works, and that is therefore a belief/theory, not knowledge. So I know the practice works, but I believe the practice works a certain way. When it comes to the video I put out a few weeks ago, The Science Behind Magic and the Occult, We're actually looking at a theory that's very strongly held within the magical community, and I have my own beliefs that I add to this theory, but I didn't want to water the theory down with my beliefs in case it turns out that what I believe separate from this theory is not correct. I didn't want people to think that the theory I was presenting was an all or nothing sort of theory, so I kind of bare bonesed it. I left you exactly what those who view magic scientifically believe, and didn't add my own spin of what I believe on top of that. Now, this video is going to explain the extra little bit, how I can rectify the different things that I've had happen to me, the strange experiences, and what I believe they mean. What's important to grasp here is that this is purely belief. If I find anything that disproves this, I will change it. And in fact, I expect this belief to change. This is my current belief as of February of 2016, not before, not after. And I promise you guys that as I find things that push towards proof or disproof of this theory, I'll share them on this channel. But this is my current working theory as to how magic in the occult works. People in ancient times stumbled upon a method of causing the conscious and subconscious mind to be able to speak to one another. Because they didn't have the proper words to describe the conscious and subconscious mind, they created different dualities to explain it. Some called it the merger of the light and the dark, some called it the merging of the masculine and feminine, some called it the merging of the yin and the yang, etc. In the example of the light and the dark, the light represents the conscious mind. It's the part of our mind that we experience regularly. And the dark represents the subconscious mind, the part of our mind that, unless we are enlightened, seems unavailable to us. The conscious mind is responsible for the will and the ego, and thus was sometimes referred to as the masculine. The subconscious mind is the more passive mind that accepts what goes on and controls the internal functions. It's also the intuiting mind, which is why it's sometimes called the feminine. Magical and mystical practices are practices that are set up to allow someone to find a way to unite the conscious and subconscious minds. This is the true unity that many masters speak of. Uniting the conscious and subconscious mind leads to two very interesting things. The first being the ability to perform self-hypnosis. The second being self-actualization. Self-hypnosis can be used to change the personality of both the conscious and subconscious mind, and it's a way for the conscious mind to communicate with the subconscious, to explain to it what it wants and how it wants the subconscious to behave. Self-actualization works the other way around. It's the way the subconscious is able to explain to the conscious what it feels and what it needs. This is usually done through dreams, visions, etc., because the subconscious doesn't work on language in the same way that the conscious does. In its entirety, magical practice is more or less just the act of figuring out how to unite the conscious and subconscious, figuring out how to perform self-hypnosis, and figuring out how to perform self-actualization. There are different versions of this, and that makes the different magical practices. It is at this point where my theory and the theory that we expressed earlier in the science behind magic and the occult diverge from one another. Up until here, the two theories are identical, but here's where mine goes a slightly different direction. Through the practices of self-hypnosis and self-actualization, we're able to unlock elements of the subconscious mind that we never realized actually existed. We, as humans, are not actually what we thought we were. We are energy, living alongside these bodies. The subconscious mind is actually a receptor, receiving us so that we can experience life through it. The conscious mind is actually just a perceiver. It records down the different thoughts that we experience while living as the subconscious, and it also creates a repository of information that we can pull upon whenever we think while in this human form. We use the conscious mind to formulate ideas and theories, and we use the subconscious mind in order to experience life, but we are not actually either of these two minds. We are a conscious form of energy, connected to all other energy in the universe. Because of this, we are part of the entire universe, and as such, we are connected to each other in a very interesting way. If someone has mastered self-hypnosis to the point where they can change their own subconscious mind, and has become also simultaneously aware that they are connected to everyone else, they can use self-hypnosis on someone else, remotely. This is the true nature of casting sympathetic spells for others, curses, and contagious magic. This also explains astral projection, where we're perceiving the connected state in which we all actually exist. as well as energy work. As energy ourselves, it's easy for us to control the flow once we tap into the truth of what we are. Even extra-dimensional beings like those that we evoke and invoke may be real and exist within the interconnected web between us all. It's entirely possible, since we are energy, that every one of our thoughts exists in some way, shape, or form. In fact, the entire planes theory of the astral plane, causal plane, and mental plane makes perfect sense in alignment with this theory. So, why are we only able to access our true energetic self and the link between one another after we've merged the conscious and subconscious? Simply because we've chosen to exist alongside these human bodies and to experience their minds, which is exactly why the conscious and subconscious affects us so strongly. Since we are of two minds within this body, the only way to regain consciousness of our true self is to unite those two minds and then to go exploring. In fact, some might even go as far as to say that we're simply trying to see the reflection of ourselves within these human bodies. And since we are all connected, perhaps what we're truly trying to do is reflect the image of God. This is what I believe the ancient Hermeticists and alchemists had stumbled upon, and this is why I choose to call myself a Hermeticist whenever someone asks me what magical practice I'm a part of. Again, this is purely a theory. I have no way to prove that we're really energy, or that we're all interconnected to one another. But in my experiences with magic, if that were true, it would explain absolutely everything that has worked and failed for me in the past. So currently, this is my belief. If you have questions or comments related to this, or want to share your own theory, please do so in the comments below or on my Facebook page. I'm happy to entertain anything you have to offer. Until next time, safe travels. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, please consider giving this video a thumbs up and sharing it on social media. If you'd like to stay updated with my latest videos, please click subscribe. If you have a comment or question, please feel free to leave it below or on my Facebook page. And if you'd like to see some of my previous work, check out PsychoSorcerer channel on YouTube. If you're interested in learning about the occult, I've got an over 35-part lecture series. You can reach that by clicking on the video in the top left. I've also got an ongoing series on the ancient gods and how they're called upon in magic. If you're interested in that, that's in the top right. I've got a series on theories from conspiracies to big questions in the bottom left, and tips for a better life through magic in the bottom right. If you can't click on any of these videos because you're on a phone or tablet that doesn't support it, you can always go to my channel and check out the playlist section. I've got everything broken down into playlists there. There's also an additional playlist of me making a complete fool of myself doing various pop culture things, including pretending to be a character that's what pop culture thinks a sorcerer would be. As always, I thank you for your support, and until next time, safe travels.